Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Finding the Unicorn in You. Today, I have an amazing person who I actually met while I was doing my laughter yoga teacher training. She currently lives in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. Laughter is her superpower with a background in law enforcement for the past 28 years. She is passionate about sharing the benefits of laughter with her fellow responders. She believes strongly in pursuing her dreams no matter what age and pursuing your dreams no matter what age. And her dreams includes becoming a children's book author, bringing her love of puppetry and mainstream storytelling, and living a full life full of joy and happiness. So without further ado, welcome Mari.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I am so happy to be here. Have a happy good time over here.
I'm so glad that you joined me, and I have so many questions for you. I really want to dive deep in your background. But before I ask you all the nitty gritty questions, how about you tell me your version? Tell me how you got into this and what brought you into laughter yoga from law enforcement.
So you know what? I've been in law enforcement for 28 years. I am a supervisor and I am looking towards retirement in the near future. All that to say, when I originally started Laughter Yoga, I was a school resource officer. This was probably like in 2006. And a lot of the students that I worked with, they were not in trouble, but they would come to me just to talk about what was going on with the drama with their friends or what was going on at home. And what I noticed with a few of them is they were telling me things that I couldn't fix. It wasn't like they were telling me that somebody was hurting them or anything of that nature. There was nothing that I could do enforcement wise or that falls under the parameter of law enforcement.
Mhm,
But they genuinely just needed an extra person to love them, to care.
for sure.
And so a couple of the students, I had read an article about a woman in Dallas, and she was a laughter yoga leader. And I'm like, what is this? Because I love to laugh and God knows I could lead. Okay. I can be very in charge. I Googled it. I saw this information. I'm like, this is really cool. How can I implement this? And so I talked it up and talked it up to my friends, and they were secretaries at the school. And they're like, What is this?" And I'm like, "I don't know, let's try it." So we would try laughter yoga, like, we'd make up our own laughter yoga stuff. And I saw that there was some training in Laguna Beach, and it was super expensive, and I couldn't afford it because I was a single mom at the time. And so I'm like, "I can't afford this." So I just did it on my own, and my friends were supportive, and they made me a laughter yoga leader T-shirt. And some of the students, not very many of them, but when they come to my office and they're like, "It's okay, you know what? I can't fix what's at home, but I can give you something," right? And my friend was a counselor, so she'd come in, we close the door, and we would laugh, a couple of students. And this one girl, I remember I just said, "When we're done here, this never happened," because I would be rolling on the floor in my uniform, just crazily, right? And she got such a kick out of it. And so it was like her thing. And we didn't do it all the time, but it was the fact that she knew she could. And I knew in that moment, like, I enjoyed being able to give that to someone. Like, laughter is so powerful. And then after a time, I promoted. I worked in special victims for 8 years. I worked in the domestic violence unit and then adult sex crimes for 7. That was very taxing
Mhm.
mentally, spiritually, physically. And one day I just told some of my peers we were in the car together. They're my friends, and we were going to meet people and drop off cards and do whatever. And I said, "Hey, let's do laughter yoga." And they're like, "What's that?" So I told them about it. And we started doing laughter yoga in the car, and they saw the value in it. They thought it was crazy, but they saw the value. And so then from there, I thought, I really need to do something with this. And
Mhm.
then in 2018, I was getting promoted, so I moved out into the field. I became a sergeant in patrol, and that's when I realized, you know what, this is super negative. I forgot we can be so negative as a police culture because there's so many things weighing on us. It's not our intention to be negative, but it's once you get to work and the reality of the day, like we're short of staff, our vehicles are, crummy. We have this mandatory training and that mandatory training, and there's just so much stuff going on in the world that's getting piled on top of it too. It's very hard to keep officer spirits up. And when you are a supervisor, that's part of your job. It's trying to keep morale up. And so it got to a point where at the end of roll call, it's literally 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. You just do the bare bones. Okay. So, here. We only have 4 people. We're out 3 cars, like whatever the situation is. and it can become a dumping ground for super negative vibes. And so at the end of roll call, I always say, "Hey, does anybody have anything they want to say?" And people would be like, "Oh yeah, remember so and it was day shift, so it's 5:30 in the morning. Nobody is all up. I was though because I would get up at 3:15 so that I could be like, "Hey, good morning." They were probably like, "Oh my god, get out." But so they would just tell me negative stuff. "Oh yeah, he retired. Yeah, he retired. Awesome. Yeah, he died." Oh, okay. Like he's been retired 6 months. Statistically, a lot of officers do pass away shortly after retirement.
Oh, wow.
And that has to do a lot with our stress level
Mhm.
and how we don't ever take the time just to chill out for a while before we retire. So our bodies don't know how to acclimate to that being up here to being here.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, officers, I'm guilty of it. You get so caught up in the career that you forget about all the things that you're passionate about, all the things that make you you get lost.
Mhm.
So when all this negativity started coming out, like blatantly, I said, "You know what? I can't do this with you guys. We're going to end every day positive before you go out in the field because I'm not the one doing the hard work. I'm doing the paperwork. I'm the one that just shows up. Oh, is everything okay? Okay. Well, that's it. But they were out there doing the hard work every day. And so I said, somebody tell us something positive. Somebody's kid's birthday or somebody's graduating. I want to hear good stuff. I would research articles on positivity and happiness. And then I thought, you know what? I'm just doing it. I'm doing the laughter yoga with these guys. And I researched some stuff because it'd been a while since I'd done it. And I found a TED talk and there was a lady on there and she was doing the unzip your brain,
Yeah.
take it out, scrub your brain. And so I knew they weren't gonna do that. I knew. I'm like, "These guys are not gonna do that." And so I said, "Here's what we're gonna do. I'm not gonna make you unzip your brain." And they're like, I said, "We're not doing that." I said, "What we're gonna do is I'm gonna take a deep breath in and I'm gonna laugh." And I said, "I'm gonna look at you and you're gonna do it. And we're gonna go around the room. You're gonna look at the next one." And they were just like, I said, "Come on, what's hurt?" They did it. And a couple of them were like, "Nah." I said, "That doesn't count." And some of them were like, I guess they realized the only way we were getting out of that roll call room is if we were laughing.
Mhm.
So that kind of became the thing, and I'm not gonna say we did it every day or anything like that, but it became a thing that when I see that team specifically, they'll be like, "Hey,"
I love that.
randomly laugh at me. And I no longer am in patrol. I have a desk, position now. I supervise some other officers in a records unit. But even they do laughter yoga. I have a laughter bell, which you're familiar with my laughter bell,
Mhm.
because I don't know who's gonna need it. I have one in my office and I have one in the main office with our
I love
conference
that.
table because we
Mhm.
just don't know. We need 30 seconds. So like now everybody who knows me knows that I'm a laughter yoga leader, teacher, yogi, and they laugh with me. And I've had more people, they may, like, sit on at first, like, pretty reserved, I don't know, but once they do it, they realize the benefits of it.
Mhm.
So now it is my hope that I'm working on a lesson plan, and I have some plans for the future to hopefully get it implemented somewhere in the law enforcement curriculum or just have it available even online for officers to earn some mental health and wellness hours.
Yeah.
Um, even if it's 2, because there's a lot of things that I'm leaving out that happened early in my career where I saw firsthand the stressors of the job plus work and how officers can lose their jobs and other terrible things that can happen if we don't learn how to deal with our stress. And that's what it really comes down to, stress management and resilience through laughter for law enforcement, which I'm very passionate about. And I know you know this because you spent that week like laughing, going bonkers. So yeah, that's my story with that. And I love where I'm at right now because I'm in a really good position at work. I enjoy the people I work with and they allow me to incorporate laughter yoga. And my family is super receptive to it now. I think initially I thought I was crazy. I have a fantastic boyfriend who has an infectious laugh. And I think it's gotten like a lot better now because of this. But I have a great support system that encourages me to keep pushing on with my laughter yoga because they see the value in it too. Okay, origin story.
I love it. I love it. And I think that you did skip a couple of things in there, and I'm probably gonna end up, like, digging in a little bit deep later on, but I didn't even know that fact about when somebody retires in law enforcement that shortly on like, the statistic is that they do pass away, and I believe it.
It's mostly men. It's mostly men. And it's because we stay at such a high level of hypervigilance,
Mhm,
right? So, women, we have outside things that we do. We have children and we have friends and we have our reading club, or we're outwardly doing things.
mhm,
And a lot of times men aren't doing that. They're going home, they feel beat down, and it can be a drag. It can be a drag. So you go home and you just wanna sit in silence, and I've had those days too, where my son has said to me, like, "You're looking at me like you hate me right now." And that is like a gut punch, and I'm like, "I'm not mad. It's not you." And that's when I really had to make some changes because it's not his fault. I might have had a bad day at work. I might have saw some horrific thing that I would never share with him. And these are all things, what do we do with them as law enforcement?
mhm,
Because for a long time, people weren't saying go to therapy. We were just saying, hey, this is what we do. It's our job. But now I highly encourage, even when I was a patrol supervisor, they need, if something's going on in their life and they are not 100, I do not want to put them out there in the field where they could potentially get hurt or something bad could happen to someone else.
yeah,
I'm super proactive. And if you don't feel like you can do this job today, we're going to be short. We're short all the time. I'll find you a place in the office to do paperwork if you have the time to take off. I'm always going to encourage therapy because I think it's so beneficial. And most departments, we have employee assistance programs.
mm,
So if they do need help, we also have a wellness unit. So they can reach out to someone in the wellness unit, and those people can get them linked up with the right organization to help them. So there's a lot of things for law enforcement now that we didn't have 28 years ago. And now I think that people are more open to working on those things where before we were just like, suck it up. Or what do? We drink,
yeah,
right? That's not just law enforcement. That's just anybody that has a job that has a lot of pressure and stressors. And for a while there, everybody, that was like a fad to go home and drink a bottle of wine. I don't care who you were. That was what our society was propagating. Yeah, everybody drinks a bottle of wine. When in reality, we know, hey, glass of wine is beneficial. And now they're saying it's not. So I don't know. Is
yeah,
it or isn't it? But we have to have something else other than alcohol. And I'm not saying I don't enjoy an occasional beverage like a cocktail. I do. But I think we have to have something else as an outlet to where we can be who we really are. We can take off that mask of who we were at work. And that's what I think is difficult. And it's probably not just in law enforcement. We become those people when that's not who we are. And that's why I wanted to talk about this because as I built this giant puppet, I Rita. Oh, but that was like one of my passion projects, right? Like I'd always loved puppetry, and it took me many years to finally start pursuing it. So, what I have realized is that we put all of our hopes, dreams, and aspirations on the back burner because
mhm,
we think there's no room for them while
yeah,
we're building our career, or raising our kids, and getting our homes, right? But the reality is, if we don't make room for them in our regular life, just as we move on, when will we get to them? Because tomorrow
facts,
isn't promised. And the more we pursue the things we're passionate about, the better it is for our overall health and well being. I don't know if I talked to you about that book, but The Blue Zones of Happiness, Dan Buettner. He wrote the Blue Zones cookbook and he does all this research on the Blue Zones. And there's the Netflix movie or series on it. I have not watched that whole thing, but I have the Blue Zones of Happiness book. And one of the things he talks about is how for a person to be truly happy, they have to have three things. And it's passion, purpose, and pride. Do the things we're passionate about, right? Does everybody understand that I'm passionate about puppets? No. But look, he does. She does. And luckily for me, the University of Connecticut has an online puppet arts graduate certification program. And I went ahead and I took several classes through them. And I want everyone to know, if you're considering a puppet arts certification, it is not easy. Do not fool yourself. I hope you have some kind of background in using saws and clay and foam. And because if you don't, it's really rough. But no, I think that if we could just learn how to leave work at work, not let it consume us, and let our passion projects still be part of our regular life, even if that means I have 3 kids, so I can't do it. Yes, you can. Maybe your kids wanna learn how to make puppets.
Sure.
Maybe your kids wanna learn how to fly fish or whatever it is. "Oh, I've always wanted to write a book." Well, why can't you write a story with your kids? Bring them into it, but then make some time for yourself. And I was really bad about it because a single mom from the time my son was 5 months, and now he's 19. And I was very protective. I didn't want anyone to infiltrate what we had. I wanted to keep him in this little bubble, and I catered to him, right? So I did put a lot of things on hold. But as he got older, there was not as much time for me anymore because he was growing, which that's the natural thing to happen. He was spending more time with friends. He was asking to spend more time, like, "Oh, can I stay at my dad's a week now instead of during the weekend?" And I'm like, "No," but I didn't say it. I just said, "Okay, sure." But in my mind, I'm screaming like, "Oh my God, what am I supposed to do with myself now?
Mhm.
Who am I?" Because I'm a cop and I'm a mom. That's who I am. So when I was 40, because I'm 52 now, but when I was 40, I went to New York to visit a friend, and I'd never flown anywhere by myself like that. And I'd never been to New York. And I met her when I was like 21. We were roommates. Her sister and I were roommates, and then I met her. So she lived in Manhattan, and she's one of my dearest friends. And she was like, "You should come out and visit me." And I said, "You know what?" Because I had lived scared for so long. I'm like, "I'm going to do it. I'm coming out there to visit you." And so she was like, "Great, come on." So she said, "I'll meet you, fly into Newark, take the train, get on a shuttle. I'll meet you at Penn Station." And I'm like, but I didn't want her to know that I was that, oh my God. I'm like, "I could do this. I'm a cop. I'm a single mom. Like, I can do it." So I do all these things. I meet this amazing lady on the shuttle, and she's like there to see some ballet with her daughter. And she worked for some financial company. And she just was so fun. Like, we had the best time on the shuttle. So then when we get to the shuttle, we both get off. She goes her way. And I'm texting my friend. My friend was like, "Hey, I'm not going to make it to meet you. Walk to this restaurant on this street." I don't know how to do that. I'm like, I don't know where I am. I've got a suitcase. There's all these people because New York is not Texas. And I grew up in Southern California, and it's nothing like Southern California. So I'm like, okay, just do it. I don't want to say no, I'll wait for you here. So I somehow maneuvered it. We went to this restaurant. We had a great time. And I started going to New York all the time. Like, I loved it. And once I knew I could do that, I just really started stepping out and doing the things that were scary. I auditioned for Sesame Street when I was 40 because I thought I always wanted to be on Sesame Street. And when Maria was leaving, they did a casting call
Mm.
for Latino and Latinas, or yeah, 18 to 25.
Mhm.
And I posted it on my Facebook and I said, "Oh, just busted my dream. Oh my gosh, I can never do this now. 18 to 25, I'm too old." And my friend wrote, "Do it anyway." And I said, "I guess I'm going to New York." A friend of mine did my headshot in a pinch. I had this little Muppet that I had built at the Muppet Whatnot shop at FAO Schwartz. And I went out there and I met with a casting agent, and it was wonderful. It was a great experience. He asked me all these questions, and there was this lady speaking Puerto Rican to me, and she's all this stuff. And I'm like, "I have no idea what you're saying because my Spanish is like minimal and I don't speak what she speaks." It's a beautiful language. I love it, but I just couldn't. And so she walked off, and the guy said, "It's okay. It's okay if you're not bilingual." He said, "But do you sing?" And I said, "I can sing." And he said, "Okay, well, describe like you're singing. Is it like I'm professional?" I said, "No, it's like if a mom was singing to her son or a teacher to their student." And he said, "Oh, okay, okay." He said, "Thank you." He said, "Can I keep your headshots and everything?" I said, "Sure, yeah." He said, "Great." He said, "What you're gonna do now is you're gonna walk that way and you're gonna go out those double doors." I'm like, "Okay, great. Thank you so much." And blah, blah, blah. I go, I'm all happy. I walk out the double doors and I'm in the alley. But I did it. I did it. And my son was proud of me that I did it because what I wanted him to see is when you have a dream, you continue to pursue it.
Mhm,
Because if not, we're gonna say, "What if?" I don't wanna be 70 years old saying, "What if? What if I had tried or didn't try or what could have been?" So, yeah, now at this point in my life, if I want to do something or I'm just gonna try it. I have skydived in Hawaii. I have gone to the top of the Sydney Harbor Bridge. I have gosh, I just came back from the Olympics in Paris. I'm doing all these things that I never in my life thought that I could do or that I would do, but that were dreams of mine. Pursue the things you are passionate about because that's who we are.
mhm.
Work is work. It's important. We do valuable work. Many of us do. But at the end of the day, we cannot forget who we are inside and don't let those things go. If it's safe and it's going to help you to be a better person, because we all know when we're doing things that make us happy, it helps us exponentially. It helps us grow mentally, spiritually, physically. I can't even imagine the physiological changes that go on when we're doing stuff that we can find passion, purpose, and pride in.
You said a lot of really good nuggets in there, and I do wanna focus on the fact that you said if you don't have, like, purpose, passion, those 2 things typically do depress people, and I think, like, a lot of the clients that I work with come to me because they feel they have no purpose in life anymore, like, they're just going in a very cyclical cycle, and they feel like they're just the best way of saying it is life rot. You're
Mm.
slowly rotting and you feel like you're not growing. You feel pieces of you getting chipped away over time to the point where you don't recognize yourself anymore because everything that brought you joy, everything that brought you passion has rotten away. And you feel like
Right.
you're this empty vessel. And I think it just really resonated with me when you said about the retirement thing, because at this point, when you're that late in life and you just gave up, like what else is there to live for? So it is so important to integrate these passions, integrate these passion projects. And I think the problem is that a lot of us are trained as young kids that we do one thing and that's it.
Mhm.
Yes. When we grow up, we are like, I'm going to be a parent and that's it. I'm going to be a worker and that's it. We don't think that we can add all these other things in there that may take an hour out of the day, may take an hour out of your week, but you're adding a little bit of joy and passion in there to give you something that you look forward to. So to break the monotony of clocking in, clocking out, going home, feeding the kids, doing the thing,
Right.
then the thing is that your kids are learning from you. So whatever
Mhm.
they're doing, they're gonna do, and the cycle continues. But what you're doing is amazing because 'cause you're showing your children, "Hey, my mom did it. I can do it too." Like, whether
Right.
it's puppetry, whether it be going back to school, opening up your own business, doing all of these things, becoming an author, like, you're paving the road for them so that now that's an option.
I really hope that he does pay attention to this. Like the other day, he was home from school, and I said, "I have to make a puppet, a little shadow puppet thing for my laughter yoga Instagram." I said, "Can you help me?" He's like, "Sure." So, like, whatever he was cutting stars, he was doing and his friends are texting because they're waiting for him because he goes to the school out of town. And he's okay, just and I said, "Okay, do this." So he videos me, and at the end, I was using an old-timey projector, so it fades out. And so
Mhm.
when he was done, he goes, "I think that looks good." He said, "I really like the end." Like, he gives me input. Even when I was making this big puppet, He was like, "What is that?" And so when I told him, he's, "Get it." He's, "Yeah, it's gonna be great. You're gonna do great." He's my biggest supporter. There is nothing when I tell him I'm doing something, he never thinks I'm crazy. He's okay. Like, he doesn't ever think I can't do it. That's what's amazing. He never thinks that I can't do it. I am my only stumbling block. Like many of us,
Mhm,
we do it to ourselves. We do
mhm.
it to, and if we think we can't do it, how do we expect other people to think that we can do it? When I'm always like, "I'm gonna have my laughter van, and I'm gonna come pick you guys." I always say that to the people at work, my friends, and they're like, "Okay, we're gonna be in the laughter van with you." And somebody just gave me a megaphone the other day. I've got stuff on top of stuff. My friend is making me laughter yoga earrings. I've got a lot of stuff going on.
I love that, and what you said right there is big. We are our own roadblocks, and it can be as elaborate or as minute as we think. For example, just doing laughter yoga. I have people that sometimes you're doing a class and they're like, I'm not going to do this. Like they're sitting in the back with their grumpy face. They're choosing not to want to participate and be willing to open their heart to laughter and to bring joy. Eventually, they end up caving in because it's hard not to laugh in a room of like
Right.
yogas, doing laughter yoga. But it's interesting when people that I love it when I see that little shift happen from I can't do this to I'm doing it.
Mhm.
Then that little message that gets ingrained in their head starts adding to other things in your life. Like you said, if I can force myself to laugh and actually feel good at the end, maybe I can do this somewhere else. Maybe I can try this other thing that I was scared to try. And it's just like starts sending a message of ripple effect for the rest of the life. Like what we do is very powerful. And what you're saying, that belief of what we can't, we need to cut that out and then just try it. Worst thing that happens,
Right.
we fail, dust ourselves off and try again.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like too that especially now at this age, I'm so glad that I started doing the things I did when I did.
Mm,
Right? It's a time where everything, right? We discussed that. I think when at 40 was such a turning point for me, and not because I felt like, oh gosh, I'm getting so old, but it opened up a bunch of just new possibilities for me because I started to have time. And that was scary. When my son wanted to spend more time away from me, I
mm,
did not know who I was to like where I was crying and God, what does this mean for me? What's going to happen to me? I don't know what to do now. If people only get one message from me, it would be do the things that you're passionate about. And that doesn't mean, go into debt doing these things. You can
mhm.
do it little by little. My friend
Yeah.
calls it bird by bird. I think there's a story or something about bird by bird, and I can't remember what it is, but I'm sure somebody can look it up. But just start little. And then eventually you'll be able to do it. Like when I went back to school, like right now, I'm in the MFA program and it's for creative writing. So, I can't take, I guess I could take a lot of classes, but I don't want to because right now it's easy for me to take one class. I focus on that and then I do all my laughter stuff. And if somebody does want something with puppets, like right now, I'm looking into doing some puppetry workshops. Ultimately, what I would like to do is offer free puppetry workshops in the inner city area where I work, because I want those kids to one know that, especially in a predominantly Hispanic area, puppetry is huge.
Mhm.
I.e., this right in
That
Mexico City. This is based on loosely on the Mojigangas. I don't know if I said that correctly, but they're really large scale puppets. So puppetry is universal. They use it all over the globe for years. I'm talking centuries. So I would love to work with a group of kids who want to learn about puppetry and who want to be able to tell their stories or the stories of their ancestors, right? With through puppets, whether it's a hand and rod puppet or just a hand puppet. They can do shadow puppets. There's so many things,
mm.
right? And I have this vision of what it looks like. And so I'm just really going to speak that out and see what happens. Right? Maybe somebody right now in the DFW area is going to go, I would like to help her with this. They can contact me.
I
I
love
would
that.
love to have someplace I could go and offer this and kids would come and they can even come with their families. Because really that's what puppetry in a lot of countries, that's what it was for community. That's how they conveyed like displeasure politically or with their government, or they would tell stories about their world that they lived in.
Mhm,
Yeah, it's very interesting. So I think that you have to open people's eyes to what the art of puppetry is.
mhm,
And it's not just Jim Henson. Love him to death. He is like my idol. Like I wanted to meet him. It never happened. But I did go to Leland, Mississippi to the Kermit the Frog Museum. And that is where Jim Henson was raised part of the time. And it's the birthplace of Kermit. So
mm.
very close to him there. But yeah, I just feel like everything that I wanna do can be overwhelming, so I have to little by little, right? So if that means I have a laughter ballot like every police sector and they don't know what it is, they will soon find out.
I love it. So,
They
I do wanna switch topics a little bit, still under the relevance of what we're doing, but you have a full-time job, you're a full-time mother, you do your puppeting on the side, you're doing I've seen that you've gotten very active on social media, talking about laughter yoga, you're doing the laughter yoga stuff. So now you're adding a lot of different components into your life. What techniques do you do to help you stay grounded and keep you, like, managing your stress in a healthy manner?
to be honest, like this, me being creative, that is managing my stress. Because
Mm,
even though I'm not in a uniform position anymore, there's still a lot of stress that comes, having to manage people and having, to see what's going on with my fellow officers and my peers. And, you know, there's a lot of stress in law enforcement, even when you don't realize you're stressed, which is like many jobs, right? You don't know you're stressed, but I bet when you were on vacation recently, you felt, oh my gosh, I had no idea I was stressed, right? Because we
yeah.
just learned to live that way. So I feel like pursuing all these things, like I just bought a carousel horse on the side of the road.
Mm.
I don't need a carousel horse. I really don't. What I'm like, hold on. Why is this carousel horse being just discarded? What's going on? What happened to him or her? So I get out of the car, this lady's telling me, and she said she had fallen on hard times and that with Christmas coming, she needed to make some extra money. And so that carousel horse, and it wasn't like the ginormous one, but it's pretty big. She said, we have to sell that. It's my mom's. And I guess the mom has a house full of stuff. So she said, we're going to sell that. And she said, she was getting stuff out of storages. She was like bidding on storage units and she was selling all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to help you out because I have a bag of clothes for Goodwill. Take the clothes, take my money, give me that carousel horse. And so now I have a new project, right? I think that's what keeps me going. I found this cup today. I'm too creative for 9 to 5. I got too much going on. I got so much going on. So yeah, I think doing all my creative stuff, that's what helps me to stay grounded. That's what's really bringing me joy. And the fact that I have loving people in my life. So I get to spend time with them. And my son is 19. I text him, hey, nothing. Hello. But I'm so grateful that he is so independent and he's not calling me every single day with some kind of tragic something. So it's a good thing. But yeah, I think that's what keeps me grounded. And I'm very spiritual. I have a very strong relationship with God, like with Jesus. Like I had a conversation the other day because I write an article for some website and it's super important to me. And so I had a conversation from my house to work, and it's probably a good 30 minutes at least. And I was just like, God, what are you showing me right now? I am so happy that this is happening, that it scares me to be this happy about it.
Mm,
But I already know. He's already saying, it's okay. You can be happy about this. You can talk about it because it's going to happen.
mhm,
It is happening, right? So I think having a relationship with Christ, my support group, which is my family and my friends, and just doing the things that I love and keeping work at work. I used to have the app for my Outlook on my phone, so I would always check my work email. I'm not. I'm not doing
Yeah.
that anymore because that literally sucks the energy right out of you. You could be somewhere, like, having the best time, and you get a notification, and you're like, "Oh, that's due? Oh, I forgot about that." I'm not doing that to myself anymore. And I don't know if people can do that. I don't know. Everybody's job is different, but maybe that's something to consider. How you manage your time? Will you always make yourself available to work 24/7?
Mhm.
Because if you do, chances are you're not ever going to be able to get to this state of where you can just really decompress.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do. So, yeah, I feel like just pursuing all my passion projects, picking up stuff on the side of the road. That's
I love that. I love that. And definitely, you're doing things that are helping your creative side relax from all the 9 to 5, like all the paperwork, all of the stuff that you deal with at work. So that helps a lot. And we are running out of time, so I do wanna ask you the last question, which is a unicorn lesson. And
okay.
I know you've given a lot of really good lessons throughout the podcast already, but what has been the most valuable lesson that you've learned in your life that you think others will benefit from?
When I was a rookie, I was like probably my first month as an officer. And my field training officer, one night we were on midnights. And when I first met him, he was like super intimidating and he was telling me some story. And basically, hey, if you don't like this, then you can get a different training officer. And
Mhm.
this is late 90s. And I said, no, I don't think it's going to be a problem. I don't know north, south, east, and west. And he said, oh, let's go get a compass. So he drove that night. We went to the Walmart and I bought a compass. So then he said, okay, you drive. So I put the compass on there. We're driving and it's dark. And he said, what direction are we going? I said, I don't know. And I'm 24. And he's, I don't know, 40. And he's, what do you mean you don't know? I said, this doesn't glow. He said, pull over. Pull over. Let me drive. So after that, we had a really great rapport. And one of the things he told me one night, he asked, he said, are you afraid when you go to some of these calls? And he really didn't wait for a response. He said, it's normal to be afraid. He said, if you weren't, I would think there was something wrong with you. He
Mm,
said, but the key is to be afraid and still do your job. Your fear will keep you safe, but it can't debilitate you from doing your job.
mhm,
And I'm like, "Oh my god, that makes so much sense." So I passed it on through the years to other officers that I met or rookies or whoever. And all of this stuff that I'm doing, that is the underlying thing here, right? Because fear is what stops us a lot of times.
mhm,
"Oh, I can't build a giant puppet. Oh, I can't go back to school. Oh, I can't write a book. I can't submit this. I can't be on a podcast. I can't travel abroad." And it's not because we really think we can't. It's all stemming from fear. We are so fearful. It's that what is there some movie or something? And he says, what if you got everything you wanted? There's some movie or something, and it's like fear,
mhm,
right? Do. So yeah, I think that is my biggest thing that I've learned is that you can't let fear stop you. Yeah,
mm,
fear's there. It's important to us. There's a book called The Gift of Fear that I highly recommend to everyone because it teaches you on how when your body's telling you something, pay attention to it.
mm.
That's that into when your body says, don't go in there, don't go in there. Don't push through it. That means don't go in there.
Yeah,
But yes, I think that's it. It's the whole premise of fear is there to keep you safe, but it doesn't stop you from living.
mhm,
Whether it's doing your job or making the puppet or being in a parade, whatever it is that you want to do, it shouldn't stop you. Well, I've always wanted to sing karaoke at this particular place. So do it.
mhm.
Do it. When I went to the Sesame Street audition, I was probably the oldest one there. There's all these young Hispanic men and women and guitarra. And I'm like, I've got a puppet in my bag. So yeah, that would be my biggest thing that I would want to pass on to people. Like just it's okay. Don't be afraid. Fear keeps us safe, but we gotta push through to get to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish, our goals, our hopes, and our dreams.
That's an amazing piece of advice. And honestly, that's a piece of advice that I needed right now too, just because I'm going through so many transitions in my life right now as well. And sometimes I get into my head because the fear does want to stop you from moving forward because you're like,
Right.
sometimes you want to go back into the comfort of what you know and what is safe for you, you call safe, but
Hmm.
that is just limiting you from like actually spreading your wings and keep soaring. And
And growing.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, because you want to stay the same, but if you want change to happen and you want things, if you're not happy the way things are and you want change to happen, you need to do something different, which
Hmm.
means that you need to face that fear and try the different thing, do the thing that's scary. And I had a similar advice from a mentor once that said, bravery doesn't just come easy to people. Bravery is doing the thing that you fear and doing it anyway. So we have to be able to just keep doing that and moving forward. And only then are you going to truly find that comfort and that happiness that you're seeking.
And you know what I think too? We're born with that, right? This joy, this happiness, and it gets tampered down through whatever happens in childhood and all the things that hurt us through growing up. That's why I highly recommend therapy to people,
Hmm.
because at some point in our lives we've all gone through something traumatic. I don't care who you are. Not everyone had this impeccable childhood. There is something that somebody said to us or that we witnessed or whatever it is, and it's manifesting in ways in our life that are not necessarily good for us. Whether that means we can't have a healthy relationship with other people, or that we're harming ourselves in some way, or it keeps us scared to grow. So I recommend that people do that. I think therapy is great. I worked on myself for many years. And even now, if sometimes I feel a little off, I just go to the therapist. Hey, maybe I'm missing something, right? Am I looking at it this way? Why? What's brought me to this? And lo and behold, it's something that I totally forgot about. So I don't know. I feel like as people, we were created to grow and to keep changing with every decade of life.
Yep. I completely agree. This has been such an amazing podcast, and I'm so
Oh,
glad you
thanks.
came here. If
Yeah,
some
it was so fun.
Yeah, and if somebody wants to maybe do a laughter yoga class with you, a puppet, have questions about puppets, or just wants to get in contact with you, how can they do so?
They can go to laughteryoga.com, and my contact information is on there so they can contact me that way.
Perfect. And then for listeners, don't feel like you have to drop all of this down. If you actually look down on this, if you scroll down on the show notes, you'll have all the links there listed for you. So you can just click them and go directly to the website. As well as if you go to my website at rainbowcareercoaching.com, you go to the Unicorn Wall of Fame. Mari will be there in the blog of her little bio, and everything that you talked about today will be in there along with her links. So you can always check her out there. And last reminder, episodes come out every Friday at 7 a.m. So don't forget to tune in and apply Mari's unicorn lesson this week into your life. So before we close, I do want to do things a little bit differently. And this is per your request, and I'm super excited. Can you lead us into maybe a 1 or 2 minute like laughter yoga session just so that we can end in a happy way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're just going to do a little clapping. We'll do ho, ho, ha, 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 a couple of times. We're going to take a deep breath in and we're going to laugh it out from our diaphragm. And we're going to move into our laughter cream because that's my favorite one. You know, I love the laughter cream. Okay. Ready? So we're
Mhm.
going to ho,
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 ho, ho,
ho,
ho,
ha,
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 ha.
ha.
Ho,
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 ha,
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 ha, ha. Ho,
ho, ho,
ho,
ha,
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 ha.
ha.
Take a deep breath in. And we're gonna laugh it out from our diaphragm. Take a deep breath in and just relax. Release the air. Now take your laughter cream. Mine's in a jar, but yours might be in a tube. And just put a little bit on. Very good, very
Very
good.
good.
Yay.
Yay.
Very
Very
good,
good.
very
Very
good.
good.
Yay.
Yay.
Oh, spirit hand.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Mari. I really appreciate it. And listeners, don't hesitate. Reach out to Mari. She's an amazing laughter yoga teacher. And just keep up to date because I know she's going to be doing some classes. She's going to be doing a lot of things coming up. So just shoot her some love. Follow her on social. She does a lot of amazing, like one-off sessions where you can look at her videos and get some laughter bursts in there. Any last words before we depart?
Find joy in the little things and do the things that make you happy. Stay safe, take care of each other, and happy Thanksgiving.
Love it. Thank you so much, Mari. And
You're
until next,
welcome.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.